All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Words with You and the Poetry Salon. I am your host, Tricia Fay Hefner. My co-host, the fabulous Robbie Nestor, um, can't be here right now because of technical difficulties, but she wishes she could be here. She's sending us all her best wishes. I hope we can all do the same and send her our best wishes. But tonight, I'm really excited because we have two poets who are sort of my neighbors. One is David Gate, who lives in North Carolina, and Stevie Edwards, who lives in South Carolina. And I have both of their books, which I just said I have been enjoying reading them in the hammock while the mosquitoes bite me. So I said we were going to do this, I think, in alphabetical order, which means E, F, G. That means Stevie, we're putting the spotlight on you first. Stevie has a long bio, but I want to spotlight her latest book, which is The Weather Inside, with this gorgeous cover. It's a finalist for the 2026 Miller Williams Poetry Prize, selected by Patricia Smith, and it is out from the University of Arkansas Press, Fayetteville. And I just love this collection. Stevie, I'm so happy you can be here. I'm going to put the spotlight on you and thank you for being here.
All right. So I'm going, first of all, if you hear dog noises, I apologize in advance. I'm surrounded by dogs at this moment. They're very lovely, but a little rambunctious sometimes in the evening. Um, so I'm going to be reading from The Weather Inside, which I actually just got back from a tour promoting. And when I try and explain this book, there's a few themes that run throughout it. One theme is the complicated decision of whether or not to have a child, as someone who was on the fence for a while, and for m many reasons, including mental illness. And also another thread is sobriety and choosing to quit drinking, and which those were two of the big decisions in my 30s. I'm now 39, so I'm kind of looking back at my 30s. Um, and yeah, I guess I'll just jump to it because I don't want to waste too much time blathering on about poems. I'd rather read the poems. Uh, so this first poem is called Father's Day. Oh, and it does come with a content warning for mentioning suicide. Father's Day. I have streamlined gift giving with an efficiency the men in my family would applaud. A digital meat thermometer with Bluetooth for all the fathers in my life. My father, my father-in-law, my stepfather-in-law. My husband does not get one because he does not want to be a father. But we make love twice in the same day. We're good at it, making each other fuzzy with pleasure. I don't think two people could have been happier, Virginia Woolf wrote in her final suicide note. I think he's afraid he is my Leonard, or I am afraid he finds some joy in it, making coffee for a woman who spends too many mornings drowning in her own mind, missing the thrill of summer unfurling outside the window. I can't blame him for not believing I'd be good at wiping asses and noses, but lately everything mamas me. The dogs say mama when I fill their bowls, and the hydrangeas say mama when I water them. And my little niece asks whose mama I am because I am the right age and size for a mama. Toddlers clutch at my legs at zoos and breweries with fenced yards where children run feral while their parents drink with friends, with me. It's selfish. But sometimes I look at my love's long dark lashes, his high cheekbones, and think, oh God, I need more of him. We could make something so beautiful, but we don't. Um, this next poem is called, it's a little silly, but it's called Once I Was a Plague of Locusts. And it's kind of about after you've been a hot mess for a while, how that's a lonesome place to be. Or I guess I think it's about loneliness. Um, Once I was a plague of locusts. It's hard having been a plague, all swarm and plunder. Nobody texts you to make plans for happy hour. Nobody asks if you've had a good day or if you fidget from hunger. Even plagues desire company from time to time. In retirement from my status as a plague of locusts, I am now the absence of a plague of locusts. Sometimes I hear a buzzing and think, friends, but it's just the memory of how I used to make music. I had a song once, and it made the crops weep, but filled me with sky. Stranger, I need you to tell me, is there forgiveness for former plagues in your system of ethics? I need you to tell me if my wings could mean beauty, not famine. This next one is called Childless. I don't think it needs any content warnings. Let me think about it. I don't think so. Childless. A stranger's pregnant belly plops over elastic-waisted jeans, and a wish kicks its legs inside me. I wish it would sit still. Forest fires blaze through Quebec, orange smoke obscuring the sky of the mid-Atlantic, ushering in the new normal. Tiger, tiger, burning bright, burning brush and rushing through subdivisions, making ash out of loved lives. Is delivering a child into the smoldering of the Anthropocene an act of selfishness or hope? Still, I want to feel my breasts milk heavy, like little wine bags. When I hold my friend's tender newborn, I pretend she is my own. Journey out of her nursery into the secret life where I am a mother, where the little spittle on my shoulder is my daughter's spittle, and therefore made lovely. Her tiny fists yank my loose hair and pull me back into the room, where I coo and cuddle her as her big eyes search my face, saying nothing of the coming dark. So this next poem is called Rogue, and it mentions an X-Men character. I don't know if I have any X-Men fans, but when I was a kid, I was a big cartoon nerd and woke up every Saturday morning to watch the X-Men. That was my show. And Rogue was my favorite. And yeah, this is just a poem about being a weird kid, which I think set the tone for the rest of my life, really. Um, Rogue. In second grade, Kendra, the storybook blonde girl from the manicured subdivision who took singing lessons, said to me, quiet and cruel in the closet with cubbies we kept backpacks and coats in, that I was weird. Her eyes squinted when she said it, like she was trying to pinpoint the exact freckle or tremor or Kmart crew neck that contained my weirdness. Jenny with the light brown pixie said I stared out the window too much. And my teacher told my mother I never spoke in class, wouldn't volunteer to read aloud, though I could read. And they were all correct about me, I feared, as I spent recesses playing make believe with myself, Frankenstein's monster roaming the playground searching for my promised companion. Some days I imagined I was plagued by diseases the babysitter told me she wanted to cure. Diamonddale Elementary's first Ebola victim traversing the monkey bars at record speed, blood dripping from my eyes. Saturday morning, I would wake early and start the coffee for my comatose parents, curl up on the couch next to my big brother, who I suspected was weird too, and escape into cartoons. My favorite was X-Men because the mutants got to be heroes for their weirdness. My hero was Rogue, who was untouchable. If you touched her skin, she absorbed your life force. I never liked it when grown-ups hugged me. I knew it was dangerous to get too close, that it was best to keep your gloves on if you didn't want anyone to get hurt. Oh, and what I didn't explain about Rogue for the non-X-Men nerds is that she always is wearing gloves because if she doesn't wear special gloves and she touches you, she absorbs your life force and you're like dead. So that was a part of my poem that I probably should have explained before, not after. Um, this next poem is called Apology. Um, I think no content warnings for this one that I can think of. No real explanation. Apology. Reaching the end of my body's rations, I bleed less and less often. The dream of a pig-tailed girl fades into the cold gray dusk. February digs its icy nails into my thigh, sits on my lap, and sighs. The calendar promises to dress up Earth's barrenness soon. Soon the tulips, the daffodils, and crocuses will splendor the front yard. But I am afraid I have wasted all my springs. My march will not wear the costume of a lion or a lamb. I'll have a ghost march, a squadron of never-to-be's trailing behind me, chanting secret names. It could be good to hold a bundled body close, to give milk and breath, but forgive me, chose something else. All right, I'll switch gears a little here. So I'm going to read a poem. It's a prose poem, and it's kind of reflecting on being a transplant to the South. I moved to the South for the first time in 2016. So I guess it's been a decade now. But when I moved, I was 28 and was not used to being called ma'am at all. And that was a cultural adjustment for me. And this is kind of an ode to being called ma'am in some ways. This is called Yes, Ma'am. I became a ma'am for the first time in Charleston and started wearing more sunscreen. A cashier at a fast casual restaurant, a polite young man, hurtled it across the counter with my breakfast sandwich. Would you like something to drink with that, ma'am? I was 28 and too northern to understand it meant respect, not to point out that I had taken poor care of myself, too little water, too much coffee and cocktails, no gym membership, a lonely pink bicycle that scarcely saw the sun. Years later, I wear my ma'am card like a badge while teaching. I've tried to grow into it. A size 12 shift dress and sensible shoes with arch support. There is something freeing in not having to walk around in my girlhood and retiring from an idea of beauty that always fit uncomfortably. To be a girl means being uniquely capturable, uniquely seen by the eyes of men my father's age. But doesn't a ma'am need help with carrying her groceries and have nice cursive handwriting and something nice to say always? Me, I want to transform into the meanest witch. To be all warts and cackle as I traverse the sky on a vintage Hoover, as cruel and magical as I've earned the right to be by staying alive. I think I'm doing okay on poems. How about because it has been over 90 degrees every day this week, or basically since I got back from my book tour, I'm going to read a poem called Heat Wave. No trigger warnings, but it mentions acid briefly. Um, Heat Wave. I've spent less than 30 minutes outdoors today, and my face is melting off. I've never tried acid, but my dad told me someone slipped him some once before basketball practice, and his teammates melted into the gym floor. That is what my face looks like, but I haven't tried most drugs, haven't even had wine or gluten or refined sugar or dairy in weeks, and all I want is an ice cream cone to come join me in my melting progress, to drip its sweet goop down my chin, down my hands, stain my shirt, and color me satisfied. The dogs are unimpressed by the outdoors today. One walks into the backyard, barks, then whimpers, then runs back inside. I would bark and whimper at the waterlogged air too if that were acceptable. Most of what I want to do is not acceptable, I am told. I want to take Molly and kiss my prettiest friend in the thick heat. I want to mix our sweat and spit. Or I want to run naked through a sprinkler to shimmy through the water and let my wet skin shimmer for the neighbors. But I am a good wife. I cook roasted chicken and vegetables, breathe in the sensual magic of rosemary and crisping skin, watch a show about women who loved each other in a time when it was harder for women to love each other. Spray a little champagne on me, and I will melt into a pile of who I once was. Fire and spice, a menace to neighbors and lovers alike. I am not that loudness anymore. The algorithm thinks I need low sugar wine and a wireless bra. And it's mostly right. A sheet mask and a long bath are the only escape I expect this week. I've grown cozy in this marriage, domesticated as my pup who sits in her cage and waits for food to be delivered. I am waiting for something to be delivered to me, maybe a baby or maybe my death certificate, or I am waiting for the hummingbird tattoo to fly off my arm and teach me to believe in the miraculous again. I used to believe I could talk to God. Now I believe I talk to myself too much. I am always too much myself. Just a couple more here. So I'll do a weird one because I like reading weird poems. This one's called On Gluttony, and that's all I'll say about it. It took more research than you would think, is my only preface to this. On gluttony. I once had a bad love who served me raviolis he'd stuffed with a bear's heart. I don't know who killed the bear, but I ate it and said it was good. What will you serve me, love? I have been known to eat entire lives for breakfast. I'm not sorry I was born with an insatiable palate, a penchant for barbecue and chocolate cake, and the thick ankles of an outdoorsy man covered in the small bites of mosquitoes. Bring me your ribs slow cooked on low, your brains poached in broth for 20 minutes. Bring me your offal and thighs, your tongue boiled and balls fried. I want to devour you whole. I had to learn to cook all how you cook all those parts of a pig because that was the closest example I could think of that wasn't going to get me on like a weird watch list. Um, all right, so just a couple more. This one's called Self-Portrait as Chrysalis. And this mentions solo and ensemble competition. I don't know if they have it in all states, but it's a band nerd competition. So I played clarinet all through high school and college. And there were these solo and ensemble competitions where you practice a solo with piano accompaniment, and then you went and competed against all the band nerds in other schools to see who was the best band nerd. Anyways, that's mentioned in here. Self-portrait as Chrysalis. For my first solo and ensemble competition, I played Chrysalis by Gustave Langanoux on the clarinet and squawked my way into a red ribbon. Here I am in my new blue dress, drinking an iced coffee, hearing that old song in my bones. Yes, a chrysalis is an overplayed image in poems, but hear me out. I have spent 20 years in a cocoon of alcohol. Alcohol wrapping around all my youth's slime and growth. I have spent 20 years waiting to see what happens when I grow up and learn to handle my liquor. It was a dark, dissolving place. First, I had to let go of my muscles, then my organs. I had to liquefy everything but the most vital, most life supporting bits, digesting myself from the inside. And now I am breaking through the dead, rough skin that has protected me. Listen, I am all delicate wings these days, so fragile as I soar. And I think I'll end this on another poem that is related to it being over 90 degrees. And I wrote this when I was at the Vermont Studio Center during a heat wave. And it's a beautiful place. I recommend it highly, but the writing studios are not air conditioned and they are sweaty, is all I can say. And I was there in July. This is called Hotness. I want to write a slutty poem about how I am sweaty and yearning for your body 5 state lines away, how your cock is the only cock for me. I want to be vulgar and loving, but I keep thinking about how it's been the 3 hottest days recorded in history, and this unair conditioned Vermont studio may be the hot box I die in. I want to believe in a higher power, one that will shepherd the earth out of its burning, but I believe that humans will extinguish ourselves and the earth will keep turning through the galaxy without us, and whatever animals and plants and microorganisms survive us will be better off. But that's not true, not entirely. The dogs will starve, so adapted to serving us and being served by us. I'm trying to find some greater purpose in all our plunder, and all I can come up with is that dogs would be lonely without us. And there is something innocent about staying alive for dogs. There is nothing innocent about the way I want you to pin me down, but maybe there is something noble in the way I want the earth to die just a little slower to give you enough time. Uh, and that's what I've got for you today. Thanks for listening, and I'm excited to hear some more poems.
Oh, Stevie, that is so incredible. And let's see. I also want to say I plugged The Weather Inside. Definitely get a copy of this. It's so funny because it's been on my nightstand for, I don't know, the last couple of months. And now I'm seeing it in your hand. And when did Stevie break into my house? Oh, that's right. It's her book. She has a copy too. But Stevie, you also edit Elysium Review.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. For those of you who are also poets who are looking to submit poetry, please submit poetry there. Um, our featured poet for the Saturday celebration is Sarah Browning, whose book is titled, I think it's Call Me Yes or My Name is Yes, and that debuted in Elysium Review.
Yeah, yeah, we
Um,
got to have her title poem.
Yes, I know, and I remember being like in the middle of a really busy day and reading that poem on my lunch break, because I also had a poem in that issue, and I just loved it. I love what Elysium is publishing. It's a journal that really focuses on pleasure and positive things, or should we
Yeah,
just?
so I got the idea for it because I tend to write depressing poems, sometimes funny, but often depressing. And I got the idea that it would be good for my mental health and well-being to write some happier poems. And I was like, well, how do I do that? I mean, there's some like go-to writers like Ross Gay and Amy Nizuka Matadel, but I was really having trouble finding poems that fit the category I was looking for. So I just started a journal. I think it was 3 years ago. We
Mhm.
publish 2 issues a year, and the poems look at like pleasure, delight, wonder, joy. I feel like I'm missing a topic there, but those are the main things that we like to publish. Which isn't to say there shouldn't be lots of poems about the negative things in the world. There should be. There are many of them. I just was trying to create a different kind of space.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as someone who submits poetry, I'm grateful when a journal gives me some parameters so I know which of the poems I should be sending to which journal. But yeah, it's great. And I think a lot of us struggle with that, like writing a poem about something that's not so happy is kind of, there's lots of examples and it's really easy to do that and trying to figure out how to bring some kind of tension and drama to something that's a little bit more lighthearted or pleasurable. It's a bit of a challenge. So I'm really, really grateful that you have the Elysium review and we can go and we can get a lot of good examples in one place. So everyone, please check that out, read it, and submit to it if you're a poet who submits, and just enjoy it. Somebody who I think writes quite a lot of poems that range on a lot of topics, but a number of them either give me joy or inspire me to try to find more joy or make it possible to celebrate joy. And that's our next featured poet. Like I said, I'm not going to read all the many accomplishments because we'll be here all night, but I will say get the book A Rebellion of Care, poems and essays. So um yeah, they're very touching, David. I
Thank you.
said I read them in the hammock with the mosquitoes biting me, but it was still a good experience even with all the mosquito bites. And I'm gonna put the spotlight on you now. And now I have to
Thank
remove the
you.
spotlight of myself. Yeah. Hold on just 1 second. And three, two, one. David Gate, take it away.
Good evening. Just a second ago, I started having a nosebleed, so we're going to do our best through bleeding, and hopefully it won't be streaming down my face. But if I'm, you know, pulling it away, and that's because. So I think we might as well start with some poems about the human body and how ridiculous they are. Um, my book, A Rebellion of Care, covers, as Tressa said, many subjects and topics, but all centered around the idea and concept of care, of looking after ourselves, looking after our bodies, looking after the earth, looking after one another. And so I'm going to read you a bunch of these poems. And this one is about the human body, and it's called The Wisdom of the Chronic. The grinding of your teeth, the nights of insomnia, the knot within your gut, the skips of arrhythmia. Your body is a megaphone for all that is inside of you, imploring us to face the symptoms of our trauma so we can start the healing of the outer self and inner, listening with compassion to the wisdom of the chronic. So in the book, I try and be funny in a few of the poems, and this is one of the attempts to be funny. So this is a poem called Let Me Give You a Minute. There is a reason why the doctor steps out of the room while you peel off your clothes, only to re-enter minutes later and promptly stare at your genitals. Becoming naked is more vulnerable than being naked. The process of revelation is always the worst of it. One of the topics in this book is about family, but rather than it being a chapter about how amazing and beautiful and wonderful families are, which of course they are, this is more about being honest about the family experience and what goes on and what you feel and so forth. So this is a poem called Pallbearing, about being a parent. I try to savor each moment like we're meant to, but moments are innumerable and arrive relentless. The hours I wish would hurry, the years I wish would slow, I can never get the record playing at the right speed. I want you to stay this age, making thoughts from cushions, chairs, and old bed sheets, commandeering all the space. And also, I long to be done with all the clamber and chase. I want to reclaim my living room. The noise you make is a kind of music, screamer, sure, but you've made me hardcore. The final piggyback ride before you got too big, neither of us remember. We had no idea it would be our last. One of the subjects in the book uh, is there's a whole chapter really just being angry at capitalism. And so this is from that chapter. And one of the things I try and do a lot, especially with negative, well, supposedly negative emotions. I'm not sure they are always negative, but strong, angry, um, you know, emotions is that I try and create the feeling of what I'm experiencing in the words themselves. And so this is one of those poems that is trying to do that, and it's called "Living is Always This Instant." From the exit of the highway, I peek at the Blue Ridge Mountain scenery, obscured by all the gas signs, those 30-foot monstrosities, selling petrol for SUVs, selling Slim Jims and Blue Powerade. Why sell anything edible? You'll only vomit anyway. Living is always this instant. From the hotel room downtown, I can walk to all the upscale bars, turning up their microphones to drown out the humming of idle cars, selling domestics and one IPA, selling barely alcoholic cocktails. Who gives a damn about the value on the backside of the working day? Living is always this instant. From the police line by the stadium, the civic tanks meet protest, a diverse force for the cameras, while the people live in unrest, selling blue lines to the gullible, stealing black flags from guerrillas, policing nothing but the property of the city's major donors. Living is always this instant. From the talk show on the radio to pimped out televisions, the wagging tongues and tidy lips of the puffed up politicians, selling promises of this and that, selling hatred by the truckload, claiming they can build the future as if they didn't shit the bedroom. Living is always this instant. Uh, in the chapter I have about looking after the earth is a chapter called Soft Fascination. And um, the concept of soft fascination is a psychological concept, and it's that of um, most of us spend our lives going from extreme overwhelm to incredible boredom, and we swing between the two. And one of the things that can really help us unlock creative solutions and really help us our mental health is to be out in nature because nature is busy enough that it interests us, but it's not so overwhelming that that we get sensory overload. And being in what the psychological term, soft fascination, um, does all those things that we like to call grounding, centering, or bringing us back to ourselves. And so this is a poem about that called Soft Fascination. Alive, I am walking through old trees that feel as healing as balm or prayer. I catch aromas of heather and pine, slowing the pulse of thought and progress. The pendulum within slows its ceaseless swing between the overwhelm of task and labor and the underwhelm of chronic boredom. I must pay attention to what I cannot possess. I glimpse the morning moon in the clearing of bright blue bells and stark flower wrapped. I am awake in a forest of being, changing nothing here but where I tread. I name the sights, I name the smells, I name the sounds of nightingales, warblers, the wind in the leaves, a distant young child, and the brook. I am only moving where my body goes. No automobiles, no aeroplanes that throw me wherever I am told I have to be. It seems to me that I could become rooted here, my feet sinking into the earth to belong, but also that I could leave, to soar with the goshawks. So it is to be human, receiving the world in soft fascination, to rediscover ourselves, our nature, our supernature, and the spirit that animates our fragile existence. Um, Here in Asheville, North Carolina, we have a 1 acre homestead, and we do our very best to grow as much food and produce as much food as we can for our family. We have 4 kids, and this is a poem about eating the seasons, called Eat the Seasons. In the spring, we pluck the tender greens, asparagus spears, and artichokes. Everything the frost can steal is a foretaste of what is to come. The earth moves to bud and bloom. In the first days of the coming light, we eat the seasons while they're ripe. In summer, we pick the succulent fruits, peaches and cherries and peppers, all the berries from the bush, for they are here for no little longer than a cycle of the moon. On the longest day and shortest night, we eat the seasons while they're ripe. It must be said, eating a tomato out of season is a sin against nature and in defiance of God. In autumn, we don't miss a beet, or a pear, or a persimmon, or a pumpkin. This is the time of harvest, to pickle and preserve, to help get us through the cold. The earth has enough if we're willing to learn. We eat the seasons in their turn. In winter, we pick the hardy greens, lacinato kale, and kohlrabi. Brussels for the holy days, when we are most grateful for everything we are given. On the shortest day and longest night, we eat the seasons while they ripe. One of the chapters in this book uh, is called "I Must Also Feel It as a Man," and is which is a line taken from Macbeth, said by Macduff. And when Macduff finds out that his wife and children, his family, have been killed, he's presented by saying, "You must go and avenge this like a man." And he says, "Yes, but first I must also feel it like a man." And so this is from the chapter about really men and um, processing their emotions. And so this is called "Some Nights I Don't Return." And it's basically about midlife crisis. Some nights I don't return to myself, though I always try to make it back. The stage door is ajar. They say life is a journey, but I know it as comings and goings. A dog chase, yet round and round it goes. Is it instinct or stupidity or hope? And what is the difference? If you stand still, the buried things with intricate patterns. And even if I make it back to myself, the amber glow of nostalgia colors perception, clouding the present, obscuring the door. It makes sense to call this a crisis, but it is actually a choice. Dance with my shadows or sink into my bones. Another poem about soil and roots and where we come from. This is called The Goldfinch. Under the knotted oak in the garden, I would place things to be found or return to in some imagined future. I filled an old roses tin with trinkets and toys. I clawed deep to pile the loneless clay upon that metal coffin. Later, I dug an adjacent plot to plant the body of a fledgling goldfinch. I found it, fallen from a nest, a carcass in the grass, 1,000 songs that never were. In my dreams, I am always younger, never older. Everything we bury at our roots. All right. So my a little very, very brief history of me is that my introduction to writing was songwriting, and I grew up in the church in the Anglican Evangelical Charismatic Church in the UK, and I grew up writing songs, which was really my introduction to writing lyrics and then that led into poetry and so forth. And so I have lots of poems that come out of a a faith, um, and I'm not sure what that faith is exactly these days when I once did. And so these are poems about that, and this is called Inerrancy. I keep the canon of Psalms incomplete to accept a creative chaos that cannot be brought into proper order. God song, spring surprise in the most familiar settings. If I can see the magenta spirals bursting forth from the dogwood branches, then all is not certain. And if bubblegum colored corolla complements, nay, contrasts, the blue steel of Carolina sky, then completion is still a ways away, enough to ponder it, at least. Under what authority can you say such things? It is the higher power, the highest power, found in fallen petals and dirt. I'm going to read I'm going to finish with probably my two most popular poems. Um, this one is a poem about friendship, um, and has made the rounds online a bunch over the years. And this is called Friendship Will Save Us. Friendship is what will save us, so fall deeply in love with your friends. Date them, woo them, pursue them. Mark your anniversaries, celebrate your victories. Take care of their names when they're not in the room. Create a space for them where all truths are tender. For intimacy doesn't have to be reserved for romance, and crushes do not belong only to lovers. So don't hide it when you find a bona fide ride or die. And this last one um, is called I Am Not Your Cup of Tea. I am not your cup of tea because I am made too strong and frankly too hot for you to enjoy. Maybe you can tolerate me in tiny sips, but I don't want to be tolerated. I want to be devoured by those who value all I am and who do not wish I was in any way watered down to meet your tastes. Thank you.
All right. David Gate, everyone. And here we go. Thank you so much, David. And again, I want to say get a rebellion of hair. And also a kind of a plug for another one of your neighbors, David. I don't know if you know the Hellbender group up in Asheville. Yeah, I love them. It's run by Nicole Brown, and they have a big poetry event coming up, I think, in October with Camille Dungy and Tim Siebels and Jane Hirschfield, and like talk about a wealth of poets who also care about the environment and the earth and being nourished by them. So I'm really glad you guys are in touch because I think Nicole would love a lot of your work, and I'm sure you would vibe with what she's doing up there. So, Asheville's a good place, and I hope to bump into you next time I'm up there visiting. Um, all right, everyone. Well, we do have time for an open mic, but like I said, please just make sure it's limited to a page, and usually that means one poem. And I'm just gonna call on people who raise their hand. So does anyone want to go? All right, Rosemary, you're first, then Gary, then John, and then I'll ask for more people to raise their hand. I don't think I can keep it straight any more than three people at a time. Rosemary, go right ahead, please. Make sure you're unmuted.
There are three poems I had in mind, and two of them take us to some of my travels. But because of David's poems, I think I read the nature one, a childhood moment. Hanging the washing. Mother had the clothes pegs in that huge apron pocket. She looked like a pregnant kangaroo, had I known then what a kangaroo was, let alone a pregnant one. Much later, I met a Joey made from wood, moved by strings, in a wandering puppet theater. They steal the washing from the lions. Quick, ladies. Worried about the birds, playing hide and seek amongst the bed sheets. Hiding was a double-sided word. Our mothers couldn't get the birds, but they did have carpet beaters at hand. Lying in grass so high it made me disappear, watching the beetles doing their acrobatics on the thinnest stems that bent under their weight. September already threatening its imminent arrival. The first swifts gathered, discussing their travel plans in agitated voices. Looking up into a sky lined by yellows, purples, pinks, the world was framed, manageable and magical. and occasionally one of these empty clothes would stroke my face, leaving angel dust, of course. I don't need Madeleines. My childhood opens its doors wide, wide, remembering the smell of summer sun, dry heat, freshly cut grass, and that whiff of blue, that cutting transparency approaching from the mountains, weaving its magic into the dancing, incorporeal sheets and lines made from old string. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. All right, Gary, you're next.
Okay, and let me get over here for a second. This is an ekphrastic, and I put a link to the photo in the chat. This is called Desert Derelict. It's after a photograph by Chuck Kimmerly called Interior, Mojave Desert. Where did this car park before it was abandoned, left in the desert? What secrets did the spider, spinning in that old glove box, learn from reading tales the spiders before it wove into their webs? How many couples bounced off the rusty springs in the back? When they were shiny, covered with upholstery, now weathered away. Did the children one couple conceived in this car know why their parents wandered out into the desert, then left this car behind? Did they try to recapture the days of desert nights, find sex on the back seat was awkward at best, nothing like their memories, and they woke to find a dead battery, so they argued out into the wilderness. Thank you.
Gary, thank you very much. Next on up, I have to say this would be reverse nepotism. This is my uncle cousin John, one of my favorite teachers. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what he does, and he's going to read a piece for us as well, John. John, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Tricia, and thank you, Stevie, and thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. I teach a course now called the Abracadabra writing process, and abracadabra is an ancient word that means creating what you create as you create it. The next 2 Thursdays, the class will be free. It's between 4 and 6 p.m. I'll put the info in the little chat over there. But for 3 years, I taught for Tricia in her Poetry Salon a course about unhinging your mind. So this one is written abracadabra, very, very rapidly. It's an ekphrastic. It's called Eternal Thursday. It's from a very abstract painting by a fellow named Ralph Corner called Toxic Porridge. The pink hollow budded forth in a swimming turquoise haze, complete with cowboys and 6-footed horses that gallop in place, making time a space well filled, like small trapeze music, waiting on a high and tiny platform for the bar to come your way, and then to leap, and in one moment to feel the dangerous and headless freedom of flight in still mid-air. As customers watch from below, eating popcorn and cotton candy, and elephants, fat and old, stand about like warm and bony cathedrals with flapping ears, and naked people dance in their nakedness, their bare, trembling, boisterous and smooth, some would say dirty nakedness, shamelessly as if shame were a toothless old man you once saw on the back porch of a broken-down grocery store in rural Georgia, that time with your brother playing a banjo. Giddy figures cavort in light, princely ways, cartoon figures musical in their emptiness, a flamboyance of mere outlines, and in the background little colored squares, as if time could be fractured so meticulously into a silence of unheard noise. Sightless and regular time happening by. The word folderol comes to mind as I realize once again that everything is 2 things, make that 3. The thing, the seeing of the thing, and the seeing of the seeing of the thing. There's a man in a sombrero, a man with 3 legs on a 6-legged horse, which, for all I know, might be floating in an eternal Thursday. And seeing it, I fall through the window of the window of the window of all I know, or think I know. Thank you very much. I'll put abracadabra in the chat. You guys are welcome. It starts 2 free classes starting tomorrow. I'll give you the email. You can email me. Thank you, Tricia.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. And also everyone, I think everyone here probably is on my Substack or knows how to find my Substack, and it's up there as well. So when the Zoom meeting ends, you can still find it. And you can also write to me and I'll make sure you get what you need. But thank you, John. Incidentally, those pictures behind John's head are cartoons he drew, and that is what the inside of his mind looks like. I know, I did a field trip to the inside, shrunk down a submarine, went into his inner ear, and that's exactly what his inside of his brain looks like.
Yeah, somebody once
All
said they
right.
look like they said they look like a happy Hieronymus Bosch.
Yeah,
So
really,
I like that.
exactly. All right. So next on up, I'm picking on people in the order in which I saw their hands. So it'll be Tina, Cliff, and Brandon. Okay. Tina, take it away. Make sure you are unmuted, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I had 2 surgeries within 4 days of each other recently, and this poem is about how I got the heck out of there. All right, so the name of the poem is Post-Op. Sometimes dragons are kittens, asleep with pink noses tucked away so innocently above velvet chins. Fresh out of med school, he didn't know I was a sleeping dragon. Purring the length of my sinuous body, I opened my vertical eyes to peruse the horizon and unfurled the skin attached from my wrist to my hip. I let one raven's claw foot push off the rocky ledge of my escape and gently winged my way through turbulence into the expanse again. That's it.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
All right, Cliff, you're up.
Thank you. This poem is called Elegy for My Mother. As a young woman, you lay down in a long lagoon of hours, where light was iced, silent in an emerald. Summer printed its last bees, algae spread its green kimono across the lake, and the days swirled away, ghostly as the smoke of leaf fires. Years later, you broke into stunning sun after days of water running into the fissures and forgotten crypts of the earth, of the clack and clatter of seafarer birds. Gulls whispered in willing ears, and shorelines dissolved behind wings. Your pinions seized the invisible. You were not made for anything less. Nights of the union of anthracite and cloud, flesh burned up like a falling star, sizzling in the dark overhead. Ah, the sad percussion of flowerheads as they beat themselves seedless and ragged against the jaws of desolate machines. When fireflies beckoned, calling in their chemical code of love, words arterial blood pummeled in temples, smeared and smirched the star-white page of your thoughts, livid as fresh clots. When death's dusk and darkness was forsworn, but not defeated, you stood, valiant but in vain. Still you held yourself upright, breathed, momentarily charmed by the delusion of strength. You were fading, slowly fading. In snowy January, you fainted, wearied as the world wearied and weakened all living things, until they fell into the deep, deep arms of dearest death. Not cold, as often thought, but warm, welcoming, and warm. Thank you.
Not what we expect and luckier, to quote Walt Whitman. Thank you, Cliff. Pleasure to have you here and hear your work. Next on up, Brandon.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much to Stevie and David for the reading and everybody else. It's been really wonderful. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but Stevie, I am definitely an X-Men guy. So I hear you. All right. I'm going to read a poem called A Matter of Time, and it's after the poem, If Life is as short as our ancestors insist it is, why isn't everything I want already at my feet? By Hanif Willis of Durakeep. When I make it to heaven at the end of this life or the next, I won't request too much of paradise. Something simple, like an escort to see my grandmother, so I may assist her in the kitchen once more. We will watch deer graze early in the morning, and afterwards I will walk with Grandpa down a street lined with wisteria trees in perpetual bloom. When we return from catching up, Grandma will have brought the Sunday gravy to perfection, meatballs and manigot, blocks of Parmesan waiting for us, antipasto. Aunt Minnie and Uncle Joe will be holding hands, and Uncle Phil will introduce me to his new lady friend, an angel he wooed. When we sit to eat, they'll ask after my ex-wife, and for a moment, sadness will intrude on paradise.
Nicely done, Brandon. Thank you so much. All right, I think our next three readers, and I think they're going to be our last, are Jean, Cindy, and Mary Lisa. So, Jean, you are up.
Thank you, Trisha. Am I pronouncing that right? Because I thought it was Trisha for a long time, but Trisha.
No, you all can just look, think of it. I'm a nature poet, tree. Or call me Tree. Easier to remember.
Okay,
More accurate.
This one is called How We've Come to Talk About Addiction. It was recently published in Cataloging Poetry. How We've Come to Talk About Addiction. The wilderness in your eyes led me astray, push-pinned into roadless territory. I have contemplated the missing map key, the lost legend. The ground rules here are breakable. An abandoned mine shaft sinks into your pupil. A stoned riverbed, a dying deer. Your body drags me into its mudslide. You collapse on your father's good name, rest on the frame of his first letter A. This land is a patchwork of insanity. The sun carts away a blue sky day. The moon can't help but stay. I've prayed my marathon of prayers over you. I've asked you to stay, then plead with you go. Where we used to live, we were chain linked to love. Our backyard patio was a jumble of toys and laughter. Your lawnmower rumbled my dreams. Your baby expressions bulldozed my heart. Your hands jackhammered our praise songs. I taught you to pray and led you to believe, but a different savior arose from the tomb. Thank you.
Ooh, nicely done. Thank you. All right, Cindy, you're up.
Thank you, Trisha. I'm going to try to share my screen, if I may. If it will cooperate. Oh, my word. Okay, well, it's not cooperating. Okay, yes.
Yeah, perfect.
There we go.
Good.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm Cindy Bousquet Harris, and I'd like to share a poem about, well, it's from my book, which is forthcoming from Kelsey Books, and it's called Rain Shadow, and it's about a man who was lost in the Mojave Desert for 6 days. And this poem is called Saturation Point, and it begins with a verse from Isaiah. And I will give you treasures of darkness and riches hidden in secret places. Saturation point. How small I've become as I slide down this chute. minuscule, almost irrelevant, but finally to scale. Canyon in lavender, striated walls still oozing pigment. I'm guided, prodded, no, ordered to follow. The trail, a cocoon of tumbled brightness. And can I say, excuse me, and can I say true? Can I say, it's good for this child? The purple light, a whistled memory, the only one that makes me cry. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Cindy. And Mary Lisa, you're up next.
Okay. Let me pull this up. So this was in response to Katie Dozier's prompt for Rattle. We had yeah, we had to write a poem about something that we had kept on a shelf too long. So this is what I kind of came up with. Where did it go? Sorry. Oh no. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna try this again. So it's called Shelving It, an exclusive extended metaphor for dummies and subscribers selection. Shelf it, she'd say, when she didn't want to hear your voice. Put it away. When the topic was too hot and she was a thermometer instead of a thermostat, you had to be the thermostat. Keep her at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. You too. Stay down, stay cool, take it all to the grave. Never contradict a word, especially in front of others. If it came from her mouth, it was true, and while the obedient, and even me, for a long time sat in silent agreement, eventually it would all crack or explode, like it did with me when she shoved me up against a wall. It was a game I didn't want to play after we'd played a game the night before. And although she and her partner won, at one point I said, no, the game has it wrong. It's old now, and we know things we didn't know before. And she said, no. And someone said, let's ask Alexa. So I did. Hey, Alexa, how long do whales live? The bowhead whale can live for more than 200 years. Silence. She'd played those cards for so long, she knew all the answers to the questions of the game I hadn't played in 2 decades, but got right. Silence. I see the glass thermometer tube snap, and as it shatters, the red liquid inside bursts through. The wall she shoves me against when she charges me is covered with a painting of Jesus's face splattered in red. I tell myself she must be sick. I tell myself it's healthier to quarantine myself lest I catch her toxicity, infect others around me. And like I did with the strange unleashed dog who charged me during a walk one day, I keep my arms down at my sides for a long time. I don't move toward her. I just stand there silent, waiting for her to go.
Mm. Oh, wow. Mary Lisa, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for giving us all a chance to share our poems.
Oh, yeah,
And to hear
absolutely.
these great poets and the sections from their books, the selections. It's been a great night.
Absolutely. And yeah, well, I have plugs, which is that the Poetry Salon does this every month. And so if you're not already on my mailing list or on my Substack, please join. It's the Poetry Salon stack.substack.com. Really easy to find, I think. Um, and like I said, every Saturday we do something called the Saturday Celebration, which is a combination of poetry reading. We have a featured reader who reads 3 poems, and then we have other poets who read a poem that's been published, and then we do some writing. Or if you're trying to figure out where you want to submit work, you can also use that time for submitting too, and we share ideas about where to submit and who's looking for what. So I've always found that to be like an easier way of finding where my poems belong. And we're now partnering with Chill Subs. So when you get a membership at my Substack, you also get a Chill Subs membership, which is an additional $100 value. But really, can we put a monetary value on poetry? I'm not sure we can. So with that said, I'm going to close this out with one more poem. Stevie, part of the reason that I resonate so much with The Weather Inside is because I've come to the decision and the age where I'm not going to be having any kids and kind of wondered if I should for a while and very happy with my choices. But I do have a nephew and he's adorable and I make my sister send pictures of him and videos of him every single day. And I've decided being his auntie is good enough. So this is a poem called What I Wrote the Day My Nephew Was Born. And also, I want to say, David Gate, I was really inspired by the fact that you're putting your poems up on Instagram. Every once in a while, I have a poem that I like, and it feels so prescient, and I don't feel like waiting to get it published. So I've been in the habit of putting some of mine up on Instagram directly. Um, and yeah, so this is called What I Wrote the Day My Nephew Was Born. Don't worry. We're going to save the whales, the black-footed ferret, the East Asian elephant. There's no way we would let you grow up in a world without the heavy heart of the American bison, the beautiful shimmer of the porpoise, the green in a dragonfly's delicate wings. I know we were careless before, so hungry for love and our own security, we forgot to think of others, forgot to take care of the earth. That ends today. Now that you're here, we'll be mindful of each step we take not to endanger the ants or the little critters of the ecosystem. Look outside the window. I've planted a whole garden of borage and balm. We'll single-handedly bring back all of the endangered species. We'll do it together. Everyone will work to recreate the extraordinary encyclopedia of animals that bejewel this planet. Now that we can share them with you, we're going to try again to save the bees. From my mouth to God's ear, may it be so. All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. Please continue to follow David and Stevie on the social medias. Please get their books. Please submit to Elysium Review. And until we meet again, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the mosquitoes go back to hell where they belong. May the butterflies emerge from their cocoons. And until we meet again, my poetry holds you in the palm of its hand. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.